Hello, how are you doing? Thanks for joining me again. Hope you're well. What are we up to today? Well, I'm going to be going through 5 reasons why you might want to take photographs, talking about how you might approach each differently, maybe with different equipment, different setup, different attitude, and hopefully by the end of it, you'll maybe have some inspiration for getting out and doing things, and you'll have a little bit of an insight into my process as well, for what it's worth and the reasons why I take photographs and why some of my photographs look one way, some of my photographs look a different way, why I show some of them in one place, others in a different one. So without further ado, let's crack on with reason number 1.
So the first type of photography, I would say, is note to self photography. And that's kind of a newish one, I guess. And it's because of iPhones and smartphones in general. And it's just taking a picture of something so that you can check it later. Maybe an item of clothing, a label, a timetable, ingredients on a food packet, some pricing information. The list is endless. It's things that are just useful for a moment, or things that you can send quickly to somebody else to check that they're happy with it. So they're really weird artifacts, and my phone is littered with these. Amongst all the serious photographs and snapshots of family, there are these random bits of information, and it is just such a brilliant way to sum up somebody's life. These are the little moments, the little things that people were thinking about at particular times. I think it's a really, really interesting area. And there's also a naivety to the photographs. There's no art to it. It's just simply a snapshot. It's not intended to be seen by anybody at the time. And I think it will become obvious if people have done this as a project. You will see that there's a slight difference that maybe an AI could pick out, that these pictures aren't just snapshots. They have been deliberately taken. The thing it would be photographed on would be 9 times out of 10 a smartphone. That's the equipment that you would use. But yeah, I find this really an interesting area of photography. So number 2, and onto the more mainstream here, documentary photography. So your mindset when you're going out to do that, I think there's a certain amount of planning. You have to think about what you are doing the documentary about, but you have to be open-minded and let it flow and just see what you see when you get there. Let the story unfold, let the subject matter speak to you, and that will guide you on how it turns into a project. You may want to have a particular look to it, but that might be something that occurs after the initial round of photography, when you can see how you're reacting to it, how you are photographing it, and what aspects of the issue or the topic that you are looking at you want to take most importantly, that you want to accentuate. So yeah, a bit of planning and a lot of reaction, I think, is the way that works. And in terms of equipment, obviously you could be going in with a large format camera. You could be going in with a smartphone, but in general, I think it kind of suits 35mm photography. Again, I don't think that I'm saying anything that people would be completely, oh, I never thought of that. But people might disagree. Again, digital is a great way to do this because you want to get lots of pictures and have lots of material to then edit down, because editing is a big part of this process, to take all the photographs that you would take to represent something and then edit it down. It's not like art photography where you have one picture that you want to get and you just try and get that picture. You are getting lots of material, and the editing process is really, really important. Rangefinders are particularly good for street photography, which I see as a form of documentary photography, or being embedded in a group and taking photographs on the fly. If you're doing it more from a news angle or a sports angle, I think SLRs are the key thing. I know that when I worked in that sort of area, it was a really fast framed 35mm, like a Canon EOS 1 with a motor drive attached, and just zipping through film after film, particularly with sports, just to get that one image that, again, with the edit, will be the one that wins the sports editor's prize. So that sort of thing. And again, if you're shooting news events, quite often, if they are news, they are dangerous or something like that, or you're not allowed very close. So you'll be using long lenses and fast shutter speeds and things where an SLR will excel, I think, over a rangefinder camera. You need the accuracy, you need the speed, and you're not so bothered about being quiet. Again, this is an interesting thing because I worked in the days before mirrorless, and in conferences and things like that, and music events, you often would have a very limited amount of time that you're allowed to take pictures at the beginning of the event, so that your shutter clacks didn't disrupt the event and didn't disturb the people who were speaking, performing, etc. Now, with things being mirrorless and high ISO and not using flash and things, it kind of is more acceptable for photographs to be taken throughout an event, although sometimes, obviously, for the purposes of maintaining an image and control, there might still be limits imposed on what you can take photographs of and when you can take photographs of. Obviously, there are lots of different ways that you can process your documentary photos. You might choose to do things in black and white. That was the classic way to do it. But colour now is the de facto way of presenting things. So I'm going to move on to art photography. So that's my third area, art photography. And I'm including in that, again, landscape and architectural photography and some portrait photography, because all those can be art. Particularly landscape, I think, can often be regarded as art. And you do go into that with a different mindset from documentary. Some documentary becomes a work of art just because it does. But going out and taking a photograph with the intention of it being art, you are more planned. You want to think about when the light is going to be perfect, when the weather is going to be perfect, what time of year you're going to do something, what makeup, if it's a person, you want them to be wearing, what clothes they're going to be wearing, what the backgrounds are. Yes, you can create artwork on the fly, but I think it's rare, and I think you have to justify how that is art in a way that you maybe don't if you actually are intentional about it. I think intention is really important here. So that, bearing that in mind, equipment-wise, again, this is where you start moving into medium format, large format. It doesn't have to be. You could shoot great art on a half-frame 35mm camera or on a really rubbish compact digital camera. That might be how the art is created. You might want to go for a crazy, distorted, lo-fi look, and that might be your thing. But in general, and all these are generalities and all these are opinions, when you're creating artwork, you want it to be rich, you want it to be opulent and clear, you want that to show, and so you'll be using fast prime lenses, you'll be using large format, medium format cameras, you'll be using fine-grained film. Again, unless there's an artistic choice of using something else, you'll probably be using lighting or reflectors, things like this. Maybe less so in landscape, but even there, sometimes you need to give everything a hand. And the post-processing, again, is probably going to be heavier. So yeah, art, landscape, architecture, portrait. The fourth type of photography or area of photography is cataloguing. And in the old days, I guess you would think of, is it Bernd and Hilda Becher that went around taking photographs of lots of water towers? And, there is this urge for people to catalogue. It's sort of in our nature. And nowadays, also with internet sales and things like that, cataloguing, and I guess in the days of actual catalogues as well, having photographs of each of the things that are available in a way that is clear, you can see what they are. That's a really interesting area of photography. The final fifth area that I think is a key one when you're thinking about whether you're this kind of photographer is promotional photography. And that can be either self-promotion, PR photography, or promoting a product, all that sort of stuff. That is a different kind of photography again. And that has its own way of working, its own mindset, and its own set of equipment as well, making everything look exactly how it should look to sell the product or sell yourself if that's what it's about. So there you go. Those are 5 areas that you might find yourself doing. And I hope you can see that the point is that you can take a picture of the same object for 5 different purposes and the photograph will look very, very different. So What kind of photographer are you?
Which are the reasons you take photographs? It'd be really interesting to know, to hear from you and to find out a little bit more about you so that I can sort of tailor things to your interests, because obviously I'm doing this for you as much as for me. Thanks so much for joining me with this. I will be back with more content very soon. I've got various different things planned, going away to do stuff, some more stuff in the studio, a few more experiments. I know different viewers like different things, so I try and tailor the videos a bit so that I do 1 week a bit of this, 1 week a bit of that, so that everybody gets something that they enjoy. So if you haven't enjoyed this one, hopefully the next one will be more your cup of tea. But to make sure you don't miss it, please do subscribe, like and share if you've liked it, and if you want to share it with other people, that would be brilliant. That would really help me out. But whatever else, enjoy what you're shooting, take care of yourselves. I'll see you very, very soon. Bye for now.